Yo, what's good, y'all? Hope y'all boys is doing well. Today we're going to be reacting to how the Seattle Seahawks completed the fastest rebuild in NFL history by Critch Productions. Let's check this video out. Let's see how Critch Productions breaks this down.
The Seahawks have officially completed the fastest rebuild in NFL history. In just 2 seasons, they went from a painfully average team and firing a Super Bowl winning head coach to taking full control of the front office, hiring a first-time head coach, and completely flipping their roster and identity.
Man, I remember when we hired Mike Macdonald, man, I was like, dude, this is the right guy for this job, bro.
And most importantly,
I really believe he's
they
gonna
bet
turn it
on
around.
players the rest of the league had given up on. And just when you thought Seattle was headed for a long rebuild, they went and did this.
Congratulations on the Super Bowl win. Take it back to Seattle. You're Super Bowl champ.
I had 100% confidence. We got the best teams.
I know, like, people will probably think that I'm like crazy or like that I'm capping because what I just said about Mike Macdonald. Like, I'm not just saying it because like now we have won a championship and stuff. I'm like saying it because I actually did believe that. Like, I really did believe like once we hired Mike Macdonald, we were gonna turn this thing around. And bro, in like past seasons, we had winning seasons. I knew our team was special. We just needed a couple more pieces, man. We just needed a couple more pieces. And like also when we had Pete Carroll, man, like he was just holding us back, man. He didn't know how to utilize our players. Like, you know, like Pete Carroll, he was stuck in his ways, like in his old school ways that didn't work in the NFL anymore. His scheme was just very outdated. I felt like we needed a new formula, a new scheme. You know what I mean? And Mike Macdonald did just that.
We got the best fans in the world, 12s. Look how many 12s are in this stadium right now.
Yes, sir.
How did they do this? How did the Seattle Seahawks move on from Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson to then outdraft and outmaneuver the other 31 teams on their way to building another potential dynasty in one of the most terrifying defenses in all of football? Well, here's the timeline of how the Seattle Seahawks completed the fastest rebuild in NFL history. Now, to really understand how we got to this current point in time right now with the Seattle Seahawks being Super Bowl champions, we need to go back to the 2023 season. Because by the end of the 2023 season, the Seattle Seahawks were trapped in NFL limbo. That's the thing too, they weren't like bad, but they weren't dangerous either at this point. They'd finished 9-8 for their second straight year and had missed the playoffs. I mean, Seattle's defense was ranked 25th in points allowed. They gave up 371 yards per game, which was fourth worst in the league.
Was
and they allowed
Smith,
138 rushing yards per game, which was bottom 10 in all of the NFL. And really most importantly, in critical late season games in 2023, they just looked completely overmatched. Like, this wasn't the Legion of Boom anymore. Like, for the first time in over a decade, the Seahawks felt pretty average. And then came a decision nobody expected.
Breaking news, a stunner out of Seattle as head coach Pete Carroll is out after 14 seasons.
Pete Carroll was the winningest coach in this franchise's history, and he was just gone. Fans were shocked, players were stunned, and the entire identity of the franchise felt ripped out overnight. And that's the thing too, inside the organization and really with GM John Snyder, they came to one conclusion at this point. They basically said that 9 wins, it was not the goal anymore. So they went searching for something completely different, and they found it in Baltimore.
The Seahawks have found Pete Carroll's replacement. Seattle is hiring Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald as their next head coach.
In that past season 2 in 2023, Mike Macdonald had just engineered the most dominant defense in the entire NFL.
10-7.
I mean, in fact, under Macdonald, the Ravens defense that season in 2023 was first in points allowed, first in sacks with 60, and first in takeaways with 31, as well as first in defensive DVOA. But as we all know, a new coach alone is not going to fix a bottom tier defense. Like, this roster, they needed help, and the front office, they got to work. Step 1, they had to keep their biggest in-addition season in Leonard Williams, as he was the Pro Bowl defensive tackle that Seattle had just traded for, and they gave up a second-round pick for in 2023, and they re-signed him to a 3-year, $64.5 million deal with $43.5 million guaranteed. Then came the linebacker overhaul. Bobby Wagner was gone, Jordan Brooks left for Miami, and Seattle responded.
Man,
by
I wish
getting
we
younger
kept
and
Bobby though.
faster.
I can't
They
lie,
signed
bro.
Terrell
I
Dodson
miss
from Buffalo, coming
bro.
off a breakout year with 74 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, and 2.5 sacks. And then they added Jerome Baker from Miami on a 1-year deal, who is a proven playmaker with 22.5 career sacks and 5 interceptions. But it didn't stop there either. The secondary got a makeover with Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs once faces of the defense were now released. In their place, too, Seattle signed veteran Rashawn Jenkins, a steady
Jamal
safety
Adams was
with
never
10
the
career
same
interceptions
after,
to pair with rising star
those
Julian
injuries.
Love. And yes, while the defense got the headlines, the offense was tweaked with absolute precision. Seattle re-signed tight end Noah Fant to a 2-year, $21 million deal, and they strengthened the offensive line depth with the return of tackle George Fant, giving them insurance behind Charles Cross and Abe Lucas, and they added Nick Harris as well to compete for a starting job on an interior line that desperately needed improvement. So by the time that offseason was over, too, the Seahawks barely resembled the team they had from earlier in the year, and even Vegas projected them around the 7 or 8 win mark. And power rankings stuck them right in the middle of the league, and even the national media labeled it as a much-needed transition year. Inside Seattle, something much bigger was happening at this point in time. Week 1 of the 2024 season kicked off at home against Denver. The Mike Macdonald era was officially underway, and Seattle forced 3 turnovers, sacked Bo Nix twice, and held the Broncos to just 20 points in a 26-20 win. The next week, they went across the country to New England and survived an overtime battle, winning 23-20, and then they came home and absolutely smothered Miami, allowing just 3 points.
Bro, we start off this season so well too, bro.
And look, y'all, at this point in the 2024
and then we
season,
had 3 games in like 2 weeks,
really
I believe,
didn't fit them
something
that
like
well
that.
anymore.
I was
By
like,
the end of
dude,
September, Seattle ranked top 10 in points allowed and yards allowed, and leading the charge was Devon Witherspoon. Like, the second-year corner became the absolute heartbeat of this defense, blitzing off the edge, locking down receivers, and setting a physical tone. He went on to finish the season as a Pro Bowler too, and was one of the highest-rated defensive backs in the entire NFL. And up front too, Leonard Williams turned into an absolute monster. He recorded 9 sacks from the interior, dominated against the run, and joined Witherspoon as Seattle's second defensive Pro Bowler. And then on offense, a new star was quietly emerging. Jackson Smith-Njigba took a massive leap, finishing with over 1,100 receiving yards and becoming Geno Smith's most reliable weapon, as he earned Pro Bowl honors as well. By the end of the season 2 in 2024, Seattle finished top 10 in sacks, takeaways, scoring defense, and third down defense. And look, I know these numbers, they're not Legion of Boom numbers, but they were one of the most improved teams in all of the NFL. And then finally in week 18, they beat the Rams in LA 30-25 to finish the year at 10-7. Like in most seasons, that punches a playoff ticket. But sadly, not this one. For the second straight year, Seattle's fate came down to tiebreakers, and they finished tied with the Rams for the NFC West title. But LA won the division.
Bro, the only reason why the Rams even got first place that year, bro, was because they won off some lucky ass shit the first time they played us. I think Geno had like 2 opportunities in the red zone. He went to the red zone 2 straight times, and both times he turned the ball over. If he just scores on one of those red zone drives, we would have taken the lead, and that game would not even went to overtime, bro. Like, bro, the Rams were not even that good that year, bro. They were not good at all.
And sadly, they did become the first team since the NFL moved to a 17-game schedule to win double-digit games and still somehow miss the postseason. But this was not a failed season. This was only year 1. That's the thing though, in this 2025 offseason, Seattle was kind of staring down just one major question all offseason long. What are they going to do at the quarterback position? Like, Geno Smith had stabilized the franchise after Russell Wilson's exit, but he was also turning 35 years old, and he wanted to be paid like a long-term franchise quarterback. There were even reports at this point too that Geno was seeking somewhere between $40 to $45 million per year, and Seattle offered him a deal closer to 3 years, $100 million, similar to what they'd even eventually give Sam Darnold, and Geno rejected it. So at this point, John Snyder made a move that absolutely sent shockwaves through the league.
Reunited, and it feels so good. That's the energy at Raiders headquarters as they announced Geno Smith is joining the team as the new QB. Now, 2-time Pro Bowl quarterback Geno Smith.
Raider fans were so excited, bro.
Pick.
Then came an even bigger bombshell. DK Metcalf wanted a new trade, which was just he wanted a massive one at this point. Like, after 6 seasons in Seattle, 3,000.
Listen, I know DK said the grass was green on the other side, man, but I will never hate on this man. Like, the shit he did for our franchise, bro. I always feared that day would come where he just got tired of being in a environment where we're not winning, where we're not making steps to getting better. And like, I think that's just the point where DK was, man. I think DK felt like, bro, like, we're heading towards a rebuild. I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be around that. And you know, he had already been with us for so long. Like, I knew DK wanted to win, bro. I knew he did. Obviously, like, he had moments where he let his emotions get in the way of things, and like, it would mess up our game plan and stuff, because he would get unsportsmanlike conduct penalties and stuff like that. But I mean, the dude is a great player, man, and he did a lot for our franchise, man. He did. Will forever be one of the best wide receivers in Seahawks history, man.
Yard seasons and never finishing below 900 receiving yards in a season, Metcalf wanted wide receiver one money. He wanted over $30 million per year, and instead of getting locked into a mega deal, Seattle did something absolutely ruthless.
The Seahawks are trading DK Metcalf to the Pittsburgh Steelers, according to multiple reports. The Steelers are sending a 2025 second-round pick to Seattle.
So now at this point too, Seattle was down their QB1 and their wide receiver one, but luckily they had a new quarterback in mind.
We do have the breaking news we've been waiting for. Sam Darnold is in fact headed to the Seattle Seahawks. 3 years, $110
I remember people used to
Sam
say
Darnold
that
at this
we were
point too was fresh
crazy
off
for
of a
signing Sam
career-reviving
Darnold for that
season
kind
in
of deal.
Minnesota, and he was the top quarterback on the market as well.
Like,
so Seattle had to move fast. 3 years, $100.5 million, with only $37.5 million guaranteed. And then at wide receiver as well, trading DK Metcalf and losing Tyler Lockett in free agency left a massive hole.
Oh my
so
goodness, bro! Losing
Tyler,
Tyler, that one
Cooper
hurt
Kupp
too.
to 3 years, $45 million, and he was a Washington native that was now coming home. And yes, Kupp was 32 and had missed 18 games over the previous 3 seasons, but his resume was incredible. 2021 Triple Crown winner, Super Bowl 56 MVP, and one of the most productive slot receivers of his generation. And yes,
people were doubting
too,
Cooper Kupp
all
when
the
he came to
headlines
Seattle
that were
too,
coming
man.
from Seattle
He's
were all
injury
about
prone and
receivers
all
and
this shit.
quarterbacks. But the real priority was very clear for this team too. They needed to fix their offensive line. In 2024, Seattle's offensive line was graded as one of the worst in football, so they had to attack it in the draft. Round 1, Gray Zabel, guard, North Dakota State, a plug-and-play starter who
the reason why our O-line was so bad for years was because this man Pete Carroll would tell John Schneider, "No, we don't need offensive line. We don't need that." Like, you know, Pete Carroll didn't believe in drafting good offensive linemen, bro. Like, if we look now, like, now that John Schneider has been in charge of things and building the team and stuff, I know he's always been the general manager, but Pete Carroll would always, like, give him, like, the heads up about who he wanted on the team and stuff. And, like, Pete Carroll basically called the shots, not John Schneider. And now that John Schneider calls the shots for the team, like, you know, now that he's drafted offensive linemen, you know, like, our O-line has improved tremendously. It's amazing to see.
Created their interior. Then in round 2, they took Nick Manwari, safety out of South Carolina, who was an absolute combine freak. 4.38 40-yard dash at 220 pounds, 43-inch vertical, and then an 11.6 broad jump, and he was easily one of the most athletic safeties to enter the NFL in years. During that draft too, the offense got most of the attention, but the defense quietly got stronger too, because Seattle signed DeMarcus Lawrence, a 4-time Pro Bowl edge rusher, re-signed Ernest Jones, their 25-year-old linebacker cornerstone.
Hey, who remembers when D-Law said he came to Seattle to win a Super Bowl and everyone called him delusional
Seattle was
and shit?
retooling. But inside the
Micah's
building,
somewhere shaking
they
his
believed
head
they were
like a fucking
upgrading.
dumbass.
Week 1 put that belief to test immediately as well. Home opener, rival 49ers, and it didn't go as planned. Seattle lost 17-13, and then in week 2, Seattle went into Pittsburgh and took over late, winning 31-17 thanks to just bizarre special teams touchdowns that flipped the game. But then in week 3, they made their first real statement, a 44-13 absolute demolition of the Saints. Through 7 games, the Seahawks sat at 5-2 heading into the bye week, but they were still missing one key piece to this team.
Yeah, Rashid Shaheed, who did so well with Clint Kubiak when they were together with the
great
Saints.
in-season
the
trade,
game-breaking wide receiver, the
big
time deep threat. Heading to the Seahawks, we saw how good the Seahawks were offensively the other night against Washington and how Sam Darnold was operating. Well, give him another.
Especially after we lost Torrey Horton, bro.
Best returners in all of football, and by December, Seattle had become the most complete team in football, and the numbers proved it. They finished the regular season with a 14-3 record, the best in franchise history, plus 119 point differential, which was a new Seahawks record, number 1 ranked in the NFL on defense, 5 All-Pros and 6 Pro Bowlers, NFC West champions for the first time since 2020, and the NFC's number 1 overall seed for the first time since 2014. Game after game, opponents just ran into a brick wall in Seattle. Like even in week 18 with the 1 seed on the line, Seattle held San Francisco to just 173 total yards, which was their lowest offensive output of the entire Kyle Shanahan
The Niners thought they was really gonna do
turned
something,
into a
bro.
full-blown superstar as well, putting together one of the greatest seasons in team history with 1,793 receiving yards, breaking DK Metcalf's franchise record by nearly 500 yards. Cooper Kupp became the chain-moving veteran presence. Rashid Shaheed added game-breaking speed, punt return touchdowns.
I was at this game, bro. I was at this game. I'll upload some clips soon, but I was at this game. I remember telling the guy next to me, if he's watching this, shout out to you, bro. I remember telling the guy next to me, bro, I think Rashid Shaheed, first play, he's gonna return it for a touchdown. He's gonna do it. And then like 10 seconds later, boom! Rashid Shaheed touchdown, man. It's amazing. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Plays, and Seattle could now beat you any way they wanted to. They could beat you in blowouts like the 44-13 Saints game, grinders like the 18-16 win over Indianapolis where Jason Myers set a franchise record with 6 field goals, or even just chaotic classics like Week 16 against the Rams. And really, too, I think that
was
Thursday night game
of the
where they
season,
played the Rams was the turning point of this season. Like we all saw, they were down 30-14 in the fourth quarter, and Seattle still stormed back behind Shaheed's 58-yard punt return, multiple 2-point conversions, and pure late game insanity.
When they were up 16,
they won the game 38-37 in overtime on a 2-point conversion, and they were the first team in NFL history to ever win an overtime game that way. The regular season was just the setup. January was going to be the real test. And look, Seattle's first playoff test too was a familiar one. The San Francisco 49ers. It was a rivalry just built on years of bad blood and brutal battles, but on this night, it wasn't even a battle at all. Opening kickoff, Rashid Shaheed takes it to the house, touchdown, 6 seconds into the game.
41-6. I hope y'all still remember that, Niner fans.
Lopsided playoff performances in franchise
hope y'all
history.
are having nightmares
Seattle forced
of
6
Walker.
turnovers. They scored on every single quarter, and San Francisco didn't even reach the end zone once. Final score, Seahawks 41, Niners 6. Next up, the LA Rams, a divisional rival with playoff experience, and the Rams, they threw punches, but Seattle yet again answered every single one. Back and forth all afternoon until the Seahawks finally slammed the door, where the final score was Seahawks 31, Rams 27, and finally, Super Bowl 60 against the New England Patriots, a franchise forever tied to Seattle's past.
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
And on
stop replaying this, Critch! Stop it, bro! I don't like that play, bro. I hate looking at it.
Congratulations on the Super Bowl win. Take it back to Seattle. You're Super Bowl champs.
I had 100% confidence. We got the best team. 12 is one. Mob ties. We got the best fans in the world. 12s. Look how many 12s are in this stadium right now.
A team that began the year with questions, that leaned on young stars and new leaders, that had now turned a supposed rebuild into a powerhouse season. They ended as Super Bowl champions, and this team too is far from done. The Seattle.
That's it for the video, man. Man, like, it's crazy how far we've come, man. Like, we went from our offensive line being like 28th best in the league to now being, I think, like 12th best in the league. Our run defense was so bad for years. Mike McDonald fixed that up. Our secondary, you know, like once we started drafting our players like Witherspoon, Reek, Imawari. Then we signed Julian Love. Like, man, it's crazy how much we have transformed, bro, in just 3 years. It's crazy to think about, man. Like, shout out to all the real Seahawks fans, not the bandwagons that just became fans this year. I've been a Seahawks fan since I was 4 years old, man. So don't even try to call me a bandwagon, bro. I've seen everything with this team. I've seen the days of the LOB. I've seen the days where we were shit after the LOB. And even before the LOB, I remember we weren't that good. I remember the Beast Quake, you know, all that shit. Like, man, it's been a journey with this team, man. It really has. Whoever remembers the Trey Flowers days, you know, man. You know them days were bad, bro. Clint Hurt, oh my goodness, one of the worst defensive coordinators you could have, bro, in history. I'm so glad he's not on the team anymore. Respect to Pete Carroll, obviously, because he got us a Super Bowl, man. But after the 2015 season, man, like, you should have been fired, bro, for calling that play at the 1. Real talk. But anyways, man, that's it for the video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next reaction.